Hi everyone. Happy Easter. Why don't you just turn to your friends beside you and say Happy Easter? Okay, so just really want to welcome you to TiVo. It's I would say it's an honor and privilege to be the first people. Let me just tell you first. You are the first people to celebrate Easter here in this space. It's our new home, okay? Of course, for myself also, it's my first Easter here in this space, okay? So my name is Edwin, and I'm one of the leaders here at The Evolution. And if this is your first few times here, I would love to get to know you, so do hang out with us after gathering. So a couple of fun facts about me, just for you to get to know me, okay? So I am the youngest of 3 children. So just FYI, all the youngest child here, you are awesome, okay? Okay, I prefer team sweet popcorn. Oh, that's underwhelming. I thought more people. Wait. Whose team like salted popcorn? Who's mixed? Okay, yeah, y'all put down your hand. I don't, no. Okay. The third one fact, right, is that I used to be the tallest guy. Wait, in P1. Okay, when I was like 7 years old. Okay, but that was that one moment in history, and it was never again. But talking about primary school, I really miss my primary school time because it was a time of so much fun and so much laughter. I was like very, very carefree about life. And I remember growing up, right, I was really a very curious kid. And I would really annoy everyone around me by asking a lot of questions. Have you had like younger siblings or nieces or nephews? Then they're like, why like that? Why like that? Why the son like that? Why? Then you're like, you live a few more years, you will know, right? Right, so I was like, why is the earth round? No one can answer. Okay. Well, then people share me about tooth fairy. Why the tooth fairy want my tooth? Right? Or why, yesterday was Good Friday. Why is it called Good Friday? Why can't every day be good? Right? It's like, okay, it's like an annoying question, right? Even if I hear it now, it's like, okay. But back then, right, finding answers to these questions was tough. Which is why sometimes we often get, people like shanas or when they do not have an answer. Or when we are given a watered down answer. You ever have that? Yes. Because the question is complex, the answer is complex. And that we will figure them out when we get older. Well, I really hate that. I get older already, I still haven't had my answer yet, like. But now, thank God, we are living in a time where there is Google, there is ChatGPT, right? Well, suddenly one of my best friend now can ask questions, right? Then got answers. But whether it is accurate or not, you need to do your own work. Now you see, human beings, we are designed with a curious nature. We just love to know answers to things, even if there is no obvious benefit. So for example, if you ever hear an unexpected noise in the room, you're like, what's going on? For a moment, your brain enters into what is called a curiosity state. It's like, what's going on? Is something gonna pop, something gonna drop from the sky, right? So what happens is that first, the parts of your brain that are sensitive to unpleasant conditions will light up. And this shows that you are slightly uncomfortable, like, what's happening? Because you realize that you lack certain knowledge. You don't know where the sound is coming from, you don't know what it is, you don't know whether it will pop up from behind you. Then the parts of your brain responsible for learning and memory kick into high gear so that you can learn and remember what you have learned more efficiently. Now, at this point that you are primed to begin your search for answers, okay? And when you begin learning new facts in your curiosity state, something even more interesting than just heightened memory, like what you can remember from the past from this sound, is that your reward circuitry kicks in. So your brain rewards you for being curious and for pursuing that curiosity. So for example, the sound you heard just now obviously was I remember it because I found a sound. It's a ping pong ball dropping on the floor, right? Talk. So now that someone was like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was like some leaking or something. Now, researchers have determined that dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, is intricately linked to the brain's curiosity state. And it's also the same chemical that your brain releases when you watch TikTok, when you watch your favorite Netflix drama. You feel satisfied with your curiosity. You feel happy. Your brain floods your body with dopamine, makes you feel happier. That's why sometimes we scroll, 2 a.m., scroll until 4 a.m. already. And this reward mechanism increases the likelihood that you will try and satisfy your curiosity again in the future. So it is part of our evolutionary process, the idea that our brains reward us for learning actually lines up with this hypothesis, right? That curiosity helped our early human ancestors survive. Also killed some of them, right? Over 1,000 of years, only the most curious people reproduced, leading to the characteristic curiosity of our modern-day humans, you and I sitting here. So you might be asking, okay, okay, why on earth are we talking about this, right? Isn't Easter? We talk about Jesus, talk about God, right? Okay, I'll get to that. But I would like all of us to just embrace this curiosity in us, to learn together. Okay, so the title of my message today is, Jesus, I've got questions. So today, I'm going to take a different approach to my message. You know, if you go to another church during Easter, usually they will just share about Jesus and then like, oh, very, very touching, and then you were like, oh, I love it, okay? But today, I want to approach my message by asking questions. We want to learn more. Which is like, I have so many questions about it. Like, Jesus, you died on the cross, huh? Like, why, right? So most of us kind of heard the story about Jesus before, right? If not, if you have not heard about it before, okay, I'll give you a spoiler. 2025 years ago, Jesus was crucified, meaning he was hung on the cross. He died and he was buried. And on the third day, Easter Sunday, which is technically tomorrow, but many, many years ago, he was resurrected. Okay, for some of us, we've been to church once. That's all we know. Correct? We kind of stop there. And you might think that the rest of the details aren't relevant or important to us. But if you were to just pause for a moment and put on your curiosity hat, now, I'm sure many of us here, especially if your first few times here at Gathering, or it's your first time here, right? You will have burning questions about church, about Jesus, about Easter. Easter, I thought it was Barney, right? Got one guy there. Right? Questions like, who is Jesus? Why is he a key figure in our history? Why did he even die on the cross? Why do people worship him? What is he got to do with me right now? Right? Or how is Jesus, someone who died so many years ago, relevant to me now? So we're going to be asking some of those questions, and it's going to be really fun and interesting. And but only if you engage with me, okay? So you ready? So my first question today, right? You can write it down as well. Okay, question 1. Firstly, very simple. Who is Jesus? So in Matthew 26, verse 63, okay, this is the context for you. This is a time before Jesus was crucified and he was captured and interrogated. So verse 63, Jesus kept silent. Then the chief priest said, I command you by the authority of the living God to say if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. Jesus was curt. You yourself said it, and that's not all. Soon you'll see it for yourself, the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Mighty One, arriving on the clouds of heaven. So there are 2 titles that describe who Jesus is. And the first is that Jesus is the Son of God. Right? The Son of God is used more than 40 times in the Bible to describe Jesus. Now, okay, this doesn't actually literally mean that Jesus is like God's offspring, okay? The term Son of God is also metaphorical. So, you see, in humanity, in human terms, right, it indicates that a child inherits the same nature and characteristics as those of their parents. So, for example, in Singapore, if you serve NS, right, you hear this term, every Singaporean son, correct? I'm working here because like these are the army people, right? Okay, maybe every Singaporean son, every Singaporean daughter, every Singaporean child, whichever you call yourself, okay? But we are called sons because the country is our home and we inherit the culture, the characteristics that make Singaporeans Singaporean. So when Jesus is called the Son of God, we are being told that he, like God the Father, is a divine being. So John 10:30 says, Jesus says, I and the Father are one. So in short, Jesus, the Son of God, is God. However, it's interesting when you start to realize that the title Son of God is often designated by other people instead of Jesus himself. Now, which brings me to the second title, which Jesus often used to describe himself. Jesus reveals himself as the Son of Man, or a human. Now, John 9:35, it says, when Jesus heard what had happened, he found the man and asked, do you believe in the Son of Man? The man answered, who is he, sir? I want to believe in him. Okay, Jesus is quite funny. You have seen him, Jesus said, and he is speaking to you. Okay, yes, Lord, I believe, the man said, and he worshipped Jesus. So, okay. Now, a bit confusing, right? Jesus, you are Son of God. Jesus, you are also Son of Man. So, which one? Okay, now here's what I think. Jesus isn't denying one or the other because he's both. Jesus is both God and he is a human. His whole being is human. His physical body, his mind, his heart, his soul, and his will. Jesus is as real as the person sitting next to you. Okay, why don't you just turn to them, your friends beside you, smile at them. Okay, if they are, can poke them also, like, okay, wake up. You see, I think the reason why Jesus chose to reveal himself more as a human being is that he wants to show us what being human is supposed to be like. See, Jesus is using himself as an example, a role model, and he invites us to be like him. 1 Peter 2:21, it says, this is the kind of life you've been invited to, the kind of life Christ lived. He suffered everything that came his way so you would know that it could be done. And also know how to do it, step by step. He never did one thing wrong, not once said anything amiss. So you see, Jesus is the perfect human being, the perfect role model. And by modeling our life after his, we are invited to a life filled with joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness. And I love that part of the verse that says, step by step. You see, growing to become a human being like Jesus isn't an overnight thing. Like today you come, wow, then tomorrow you become like Jesus. Right? It isn't an overnight thing. It requires days and months and years of work. It requires us to make small, consistent changes in our lives to become better humans every single day. Being kinder to a friend in school. Being respectful to your parents. Or simply just help a stranger in need. You see, if Jesus, a human being, can do it, we can do it too. So now we know Jesus is God, but most importantly, he is human and he is a role model. My next question is, why is this important? So we're going to look at the larger context of the world today, right? Now, throughout history, human beings have been famous or infamous for making bad decisions. A lot of times because of greed, because of jealousy. You know, we always want more in our lives. We want more power. We want more knowledge, more wealth. I also want wealth, right? Like who doesn't, right? Doesn't it feel good to have a little bit more followers on Instagram, on TikTok? I mean, like, won't harm me, right? Doesn't it feel good to be rich? It's okay to say yes, right? Okay. Okay, for me, yes. For me, okay? So that you can enjoy the world a little bit more. And does it feel good that you can do well in school? So that you can have, a better future or whatever that we are told when we are growing up. Well, are all these things bad? Yeah, no. But when our moral compass tips over in the pursuit of these things, that's when we need to start evaluating. So for example, when we start having more influence and gain more followers on whichever platform you're on, right? TikTok, Instagram, but we use it to gossip. We used to defame others, to garner more support, to feel affirmed on ourselves, attention. Or we lie and we manipulate others so that we can get something out of them, for them to do us a favor. Or we only care about our own studies and not helping others when they are in need. Just so, with the intention of doing better than them academically. Oh, very bad, right? Or in a more serious note, invading other countries and taking countless of innocent life just because they feel threatened in power. Or conducting violence, oppression, and other forms of injustice towards others. Sounds very nasty, right? Because it goes against our human nature on who God designed us to be. Now, since it is bad, right? Have you ever thought, why does God allow it to happen? Well, this is the question that has been going around and around forever and ever. Why does God allow bad things to happen, right? Or why does it seem like God isn't doing anything about it? Now, I have my answer, my thought is in two parts. First, God gave us free will. Galatians 5:1, it says, Christ has set us free to live a free life. So take your stand. Never again let anyone put a harness of slavery on you. Now, have you ever thought what would life be like if God is fully in control of us? Everything is predetermined. We will just be puppets, right? We can't decide what to do in life. Whether we can, I don't know, you eat Cai Fan for lunch or eat McDonald's. Or whether you use a Samsung phone or iPhone. Kind of sucks, right? Isn't it? That life would have been so restrictive. But instead, God gave us free will. The ability to make decisions in life. That if you crave double McSpicy, you can have it. If you find like iPhone is so much more intuitive, you can use it. Or in this case, God allows bad things to happen so that we can have the chance to do good. You see, we suffer feeling sad, angry, frustrated, in pain, so that we can also make decisions in our life to become better, to do good. It is what makes us human. And that is what makes life beautiful. You see, that life isn't just a bed of roses. That one we all dream of, right? All cozy and comfortable until the day you take your last breath. But life is a mix of experiences of both suffering and goodness. That amid our journey, we learn and grow to appreciate life itself, to become better human beings. Now, second, God did do something. God sent Jesus. So earlier we learned that Jesus was our role model, and given our free will, we can choose to live a life like His, to become a better human. So it is important that we also understand and learn from what Jesus did with His time on earth. Now here's a record in Matthew 9, verse 35. Jesus traveled among all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, announcing the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and every sickness. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, He had compassion for them because they were troubled and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. You see, Jesus had compassion for others. Now, what is compassion? Having compassion is to recognize the suffering of others and then take action to help. And more than that, compassion embodies a tangible expression of love towards others. It is literally just love in action. It is saying to your friend that I see you, I feel you, and I embrace you. And this is my act of love to you. So for example, you found out maybe, I don't know, your close friend, your best friend, lost a loved one. Somehow you could also feel a sense of loss in your heart. You feel it just by looking at them. And you would show compassion by first asking if they are okay. Or you might offer them a hug if they feel comfortable. And your act of love might be offering help to them or their family, to write them a card, encourage them, or simply just being there with them throughout the journey. You see, compassion is a beautiful thing. We begin to see that we are no longer suffering alone. That we are here for each other. We encourage each other to become better. Jesus was compassionate because He loved people. He decided to put His love into action in the form of healing so that people can become physically healthy, so they no longer suffer in pain. He also put His love into action in the form of teaching, so people who need hope in their lives can receive it. And ultimately, Jesus went above and beyond with His love for us, such that He died on the cross for us, for our wrongful natures, so that He can put hope for a better future. Question 3. How is this relevant to us today? Well, the world you see today is pretty messed up, right? We see it all over the news. We experience injustice, pain, suffering, stress, anxiety, depression in school, at home. The story of Jesus was history, right? But He did leave us a clue while He was still alive on earth. See, after Jesus went around to heal and to teach, in Matthew 9:37, it says, Then He said to His disciples, the size of the harvest is bigger than you can imagine, but there are few workers. Therefore, plead with the Lord of the harvest to send out workers for His harvest. Listen, we need more compassionate humans in the world. You see, after Jesus died on the cross on our behalf, we might think like, perfect ending, died for us. Yeah, I am free, I'm good. Humanity is going to be great and we're going to live happily ever after. But it proves otherwise 2,000 years later, right? The truth of the matter is that suffering is still happening around the world. There are lots of injustices happening, people suffering in pain, facing oppression, and also growing mental health issues. And what we ought to do is to become little Jesus, to put our love into action. So one such person who is a great example of a compassionate human is Mother Teresa. So I'm sure many of you know who she is. Mother Teresa was a Roman Catholic nun who devoted her life to serving the poor and sick around the world. She spent many, many years in Calcutta, India, where she found the missionaries of charity, people devoted to helping those in great need. She set up soup kitchens, housings for the poor, orphanages, and a home for the dying destitute. She treated sick people, educated the poorest of the poor, and fed the homeless. She treated them like family. And in 1979, Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and became a symbol of charitable, selfless work. You see, we need more compassionate humans on earth. People who are willing to love, to be kind, to be thoughtful, for those who are suffering, to do something for them. And the idea of being compassionate can be daunting, but it is not. Really, love, kindness, and thoughtfulness can come in both big and small ways. And I really love this. Mother Teresa writes this in one of her letters. And she says, "To me, God and compassion are one and the same. Compassion is the joy of sharing. It's doing small things for the love of each other. Just a smile, or carrying a bucket of water, or showing some simple kindness. These are the small things that make up compassion." You see, start with the small acts of love, kindness, and thoughtfulness. And I love what she says here. It's about doing the small things for the love of each other, small acts of kindness. So I want to share with you an amazing youth in church, right? And his name is Junyu. Where is he? Oh, he's there. Okay, yes. So since the start of the year, Junyu has been helping to take care of the teens in our church. And one of them is this, I think it's P4, P5 now? Amos. P5 now, Amos. So the thing is that just about a month ago, Amos's grandfather fell down at home and was admitted to the hospital. Amos was worried and he shared with Junyu about it. And Junyu, over a call with him, offered to pray for him and his grandfather. But after praying, Junyu felt that Amos needed something a little bit more than just, receiving prayer. That perhaps that he could teach Amos how to pray, how to seek peace and comfort for himself, and to believe that God can heal his grandfather. So Junyu asked Amos if he would also like to learn how to pray. Amos learned and he prayed himself. And within a few days, Amos shared with Junyu that his grandfather was recovering well. And he texted Junyu to thank him for being there, for praying and teaching him how to pray. And what's even more amazing was that, Amos's family actually wrote little notes, kind gestures, to thank him for his kind gestures and offering to pray for his family. Yeah, I know. Every day I was like, you never shared with me this for the past few weeks. I found out yesterday. But it's just a small act of kindness. Just offering to be there for your friend, to just pray for them, or teaching them how to pray. And I wonder how many of us sitting here today, you say that we want to become a better human. Now, how many of us want to be good, right? I want to be a better human being, right? To be more kind, more loving, more thoughtful, to show compassion to the people around us. So, just a quick recap on what we discussed today, right? Okay, first we asked, who is Jesus? We found out that Jesus is God, but he is also fully human. And that he is our role model in terms of what being human is like, as God intended us to be. Second, we asked, why is that important? We understand that the world is in a mess, and God put us here so that we can have, humanly experience here on earth. He has also given us free will so that we can choose to do what is good amidst of suffering. God also sent his son Jesus to show us what humanity is supposed to look like. And third, we asked, how is that relevant? Jesus demonstrated his humanity by showing compassion, putting his love into action, to be there for people, to heal them, and to teach them. And ultimately, Jesus' compassion took him above and beyond, which led him to the cross, so that he could erase our wrongful nature. However, the world is still in the mess today, and we learn that Jesus also calls us to become more compassionate humans in the world, so that together with God, we can make a world a better place like God intended. Now, my last question for today. Question 4. What can I do right now? Right? After learning all this, what can I do right now? How can I start to become more compassionate? How to be driven by love, kindness, and thoughtfulness? Now, the obvious way is to at least keep a mental note when we are doing something for someone. Right? You ask yourselves, am I doing it out of love? Am I genuine in wanting the best for the person? Am I being kind? Or am I doing it out of curiosity or out of guilt? So even. Am I being thoughtful? Am I meeting a need in a person's life? Or will the person feel uncomfortable? Or am I standing up for justice? Will I stand against bullies if my friends get bullied? Now, all these things sounds simple, right? I mean, I can keep a mental note. You see, everyone can become a better human being. But here's the food for thought, right? If that's the case, why isn't the world becoming a better place today? Like sitting here, while if, I don't know, 30, 40 of us can just become more compassionate. We learn already. Why can't we just tomorrow, pang, we are a compassionate human being. Let's do good in the world, right? But the world is still in so much darkness. Now, there is another way, which I personally feel is my best way, which is to be transformed by Jesus. See, in the Bible, Romans 12:2, it says, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you can figure out what God's will is. What is good and pleasing and mature. See, Jesus wants to transform us. You see, to me, trying to learn to become a better human alone it's really hard. It makes sense, but it's really hard to live in that life. And that's why I prefer to do it with Jesus. I mean, Jesus is like my greatest resource, our greatest role model. To me, he speaks to me when I pray and when I read the Bible. And I don't know about you, but having someone real and living to model after makes life so much easier and transformative. You see, personally, my life has been transformed by Jesus. When I was much younger, when I was a teen, my family wasn't very, very present in my life. My parents were always busy at work, and my brothers, who were 6 and 7 years older than me, we are in very different stages of life. So I have no one to turn to. In the family, we do not communicate much to each other, even during meal times. And I really didn't like those moments growing up. And the relationship I had with my family members became a standard for relationships around me. Like close friendships, intimate relationship doesn't make sense to me. And because of that, I started to keep my feelings to myself all the time. Because I thought, never mind, no one will understand me. It wouldn't matter anyway. Now, when I was 18, I came to TiVo and I was in church for 2 years, but I somehow never really understood God. And others, who keep saying like, wow, God is like a loving father, like a parent. God relates to you like a parent to a child is. Even 24 months, to me, God was still a very distant figure. Now, in that same year, I was struggling a lot in life, coping with school, and I keep bottling up my feelings. And sometimes the bottled up feelings grew on me, and I felt highly anxious all the time, very irritable, and depressed most of the time. There were some nights I don't know why, I lay on my bed, and tears just started flowing. And I didn't know who to turn to, and for sure, definitely not my family. Now, I remember attending a gathering that weekend, and I was feeling so lost and confused. And during worship, I decided to just pray like, Jesus, I don't know, you close, far, whichever you are. If you are real, do something about the situation I'm in. Show me you are real, do anything. And it was in that moment that I felt this warm presence surrounding me, as though like someone was standing next to me. It was like a very unfamiliar feeling, but I felt somewhat comfortable. And suddenly, a thought flashed across my head saying, I have always been and will always be here. You can share your troubles with me. At first I was like, whoa. Like, I was quite taken aback. But I know it was Jesus speaking to me. I felt very touched in the moment as I poured out, just even inside of me, I just poured out those emotions. I began to talk to God, all the pain and all these things that I'm struggling with, to Him. But that's not the end. You know, we're like, wow, pour already, like, wow, Jesus is my therapy, right? Like, I pour already, then all is done. But in that moment, Jesus spoke one more thing to me. And He says to forgive my parents. To let go of all the grudges and blame I put on them. But of course, I was still young back then, right? I didn't really understand what that meant. I was like, no, that was the last thing I want to hear. But I knew that it was something important to do. And I never knew that I will be doing that ever in my life. But I mustered up some courage. I did. There was one day I just go to my parents. I apologize to them for being angry at them for no apparent reason. It was all me. But I was glad that I did in that moment because I couldn't felt any freer in my life. You see, I wouldn't have done these things if it weren't for Jesus in my life. If Jesus hadn't spoke to me, I was like, maybe today I was still like, angry kid. I don't know. The way Jesus transformed my life, I believe He can transform yours too. You see, in the Bible in Luke 9, it says, then He told them what they could expect for themselves. Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You are not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me and I will show you how. You see, Jesus led the way in His life for the sake of all human beings, for you and I. He came, He demonstrated and died on the cross for our humanity. And He calls us to embrace our sufferings, to have compassion to others, and to follow His ways so that we can experience the fullness of life itself. And just to close with this thought, with Jesus, we are complete. I love this just final verse that I want to share with you, Psalms 18:20. It says, God made my life complete when I placed all the pieces before Him. When I got my act together, He gave me a fresh start. Now I'm alert to God's ways. I don't take God for granted. Every day I review the ways He works. I try not to miss a trick. I feel put back together and I'm watching my step. I love this, like God rewrote the text of my life when I opened the book of my heart to His eyes. You see, I just want to encourage today, Jesus is waiting for us to invite Him into our hearts so that He can do His work for a better humanity through us. As we embrace life together with Jesus, our lives will be made complete. With Jesus, we can now see hope in our pain, in our suffering, in our stress, in our anxiety, in our depression. We can see strength when we are weak. We can find purpose in living. We can see opportunities to love and be kind towards others instead of being mean. We can see the potential in each of us to become better human beings. And to me, today, I want to say that is the life worth living. And this is the whole story about Jesus and Easter. Jesus died for us, and He calls us to be a better human being in the world. So I hope you learned something today.